Hello everyone, today I have an amazing story for you. It's not just for your listening and speaking practice, but also to inspire you. The story is called The Garden of Tomorrow. It will show you how inspiration can change everything. In a quiet town where the horizon shimmered like a mirage, and the air smelled faintly of dust and fading memories, there stood a single old house at the edge of the road. It was the home of Liz Hale, a woman with silver hair, gentle eyes, and hands that had known both hard work and hope. Once her town had been alive. Children ran barefoot through green fields, laughter echoed across gardens, and the sound of hammers and songs filled the air. But that was years ago, before the rivers dried, before the rain forgot their names, and before hope began to leave people's hearts. Now everything was brown, silent, and tired. The wells were empty, and the only sound left was the wind whispering through the cracks of abandoned homes. But every dawn, Liz Hale woke before the sun. She would fill her small metal watering can. From the last clay jar of stored rainwater, wrap her scarf around her head and step into the dust. Out there, where nothing grew anymore, stood her garden, or rather, what used to be one. Once full of roses and lilies, it was now just dry soil and brittle stems. Yet she watered it every single day. The few villagers left thought she'd lost her mind. They'd watch from their porches and whisper, "There goes Liz again, trying to bring life to a graveyard." But Liz would only smile softly, her eyes kind but certain, and say, "I'm not watering what's gone. I'm watering what's coming." No one understood her. But she didn't need them to, because hope, true hope, doesn't wait for company. It grows in silence. She had once shared that garden with her husband, Samuel Hale, a kind man with calloused hands, and laughter that could fill a room. Together they'd built the garden from nothing, turning rock and clay into color and scent. But Samuel had passed years ago, and with him the music left the house. Still, Liz couldn't bear to abandon their dream. She kept the garden alive, even if it was only alive in her heart. Then, one summer afternoon, a moving truck stopped at the house next door, the first sign of new life in years. A young couple stepped out, followed by a boy no older than 10. His name was Daniel. Daniel was curious about everything, the windmills, the empty barns, and especially the strange old woman, watering the ground that grew nothing. One day he walked over and asked shyly, "Ma'am, why are you watering dirt?" Liz chuckled softly. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, "I'm not watering dirt. I'm watering tomorrow." Daniel frowned. "There's nothing there." "Not yet," she said, "but one day there will be. Everything beautiful starts as something invisible." Those words stayed in the boy's heart. The next morning he brought over a small tin cup of water and poured it beside her feet. "I want to water tomorrow too," he said. From that day on, they became a team, the old gardener and the young dreamer. They planted tiny seeds Liz had saved for years, some marigolds, some mint, and one little orange tree that she called Samuel's tree. Every day, they watered together, talking about the world beyond the hills. Liz told Daniel stories about when the river used to sing, when people danced during harvest, and when every home smelled of bread and flowers. And as she spoke, something quiet but powerful began to happen. Daniel started to believe, not just in the garden, but in the idea that hope can grow anywhere. Then one night, while Liz sat by her window with her cup of tea, she heard a sound she hadn't heard in decades, a soft, gentle patter. Rain. At first, she thought she imagined it, but then thunder rolled gently across the horizon, and the scent of wet earth filled the air. She ran outside barefoot, laughing like a child as the sky poured life onto the land again. Daniel came running too, his arms outstretched. They stood together, soaked and joyful, watching the dry soil drink deeply after so many silent years. The next morning, and when the sun rose through the mist, they saw it, tiny green sprouts breaking through the ground. The first signs of life. The villagers came to see. At first they couldn't believe their eyes, but it was true. The garden was coming back. Within weeks, color began to return. Marigolds glowing like sunlight, mint leaves whispering in the breeze, and the small orange tree standing proud. The town changed. People started planting again. They repaired old wells, repainted doors, and children played in the streets once more. It wasn't just the garden that grew, it was the people, their faith, their courage, their hope. Years later, Liz grew frail. Her hands shook, her steps slowed, but her smile never faded. One morning, Daniel, now grown, came to visit. She was sitting beside the orange tree, watching the petals fall into her lap. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Liz smiled. "It always was," she said softly. "You just needed to believe long enough to see it." That night, she passed away in her sleep. Peaceful, surrounded by flowers. The villagers buried her beneath the garden she had saved, and they carved these words into a small wooden sign. "She watered tomorrow." From then on, the garden became a sacred place, a symbol of faith that refuses to die. Children from other towns came to visit, to touch the soil where hope was reborn. And every year, on the anniversary of the first rain, the villagers gather to plant new seeds. They tell her story, the story of the woman who believed in life when no one else did. Sometimes, in the soft hush before sunset, if you stand very still in the garden, you can hear the wind move gently through the marigolds, like a whisper, a voice saying, "Keep watering your tomorrow." Because no matter how barren the world seems, faith is the seed and love is the rain. And as long as someone keeps believing, the garden will never truly die. Now, look at the text and read it out loud. That way, your speaking will improve. There will be no sound, only you will read. For daily interesting videos to practice English listening and speaking, subscribe to this channel and keep the notification bell on. Share the videos with your friends and acquaintances. To get better results, watch the videos repeatedly. Thank you.